Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going deep with Jim Rohn's 7 Strategies for Wealth and Happiness. We got some excerpts from the audiobook, um, and I think it's going to be like a real kick in the pants, like get you thinking about upping your game in life, not just, money-wise, but like just all around.
Yeah, totally. Ron's work is like all about this whole life approach. It's not just like chasing a big bank account. It's about building a life where you actually feel good about everything.
Exactly. And he doesn't like try to make it sound easy. He's upfront about the work it takes. So, okay, let's get into it. Ron starts with goal setting. And I think we all kind of know that's important, but maybe we're not always the best at like actually doing it.
He really hammers home this point that just having like fuzzy ideas of what you want isn't enough. You got to get super specific, define goals you can, actually measure. He even says write down like 50 goals.
Right. 50. I gotta admit, even I was kind of like, whoa, that's a lot. But his point is that we often like put limits on ourselves by not aiming high enough. He uses this really interesting example about the Apollo astronauts, the ones who went to the moon. He says they felt kind of lost after they hit that goal.
It's such a good way to think about it, right? It shows how having something to reach for, something that gets you out of bed, is so key to being happy. Ron says that setting goals all the time, even after you nail something big, is, it's how you keep that drive going.
And it's not just about like chasing trophies or whatever. He's really big on figuring out the why behind your goals, making sure they actually matter to you. Like, do they fit with what you believe in? Do they get you closer to the life you actually want?
Yeah. That's the deep down kind of motivation that makes you take action and helps you bust through those tough spots. So building on this whole goal setting thing, Ron jumps into learning, like teaching yourself stuff. He says knowledge is how you unlock like money and personal growth.
He's got some super interesting ideas about learning, too. It's not just like going to school or whatever. It's about always looking for knowledge in all sorts of places. He even says you should be learning from like everyday stuff. He wants us to take time each day to think about what we did, the good and the bad, what worked, what flopped, and the biggie, what did we learn, and how can we use that moving forward?
Turning every day into like a lesson. I love that. And then he takes it up a notch, right? He says, we got to learn from people who are already successful. Read their books, go to their talks, even take them out to dinner if you can.
Can you imagine having dinner with someone you really admire, someone who's done like amazing things? What would you learn from a chat like that?
That's so smart. And it all goes back to learning being like a lifelong thing. It's not just when you're, a kid in school. It's about always looking for knowledge and using it to make your life better. And then Ron's third strategy. This one's about boosting your value. As a person and, at work too. He gets that there are things that hold us back. We all procrastinate or blame other people or make excuses. Those habits, they stop us from growing and reaching our full potential.
We've all been there, right? But Ron's advice for ditching those bad habits is actually pretty simple. Start small. Instead of trying to change everything overnight, just focus on making small, gradual improvements.
He believes that even tiny, consistent steps can add up to huge changes over time. It's about building that momentum, like a positive feedback loop. When you get those little wins, your confidence goes up, and you're way more motivated to tackle the big stuff.
Progress, not perfection, right? And then, oh boy, then Ron goes for a topic I bet we can all relate to: taxes. But his take is, well, not what you'd expect.
He actually says we should change how we think about them. Don't see taxes as this burden. See them as like chipping into society, supporting the things that make life better for everyone.
It's a different way to look at it, for sure. He says that being more positive about money in general, from taxes to how you spend, it can make you happier and feel more in control.
Absolutely. And, speaking of money, he brings up the 70-30 rule. It's for managing your income, and it's simple but really effective for building wealth.
So you spend 70% of your money on the stuff you need and the stuff you enjoy. But the other 30%, that goes to charity, savings, and investments. It's a way to make sure you're not just spending everything you make.
It's about building a more balanced and fulfilling relationship with money, wouldn't you agree?
Totally. And then Ron gets into time management, a challenge for, like, everyone I know.
He talks about different ways to find balance between work and life, from people who just drift along to the total workaholics. There's no one right answer for everyone.
He's big on finding what works for you, like making time for work, family, and even relaxing, all the pieces.
Because if you spend too much time on just one thing, it just doesn't work in the long run.
And you know what I like? He's all about setting goals and achieving things, but he also says it's important to relax and have fun. I like that about him.
It's about having a life that feels good, not just one that's, super productive.
Hmm.
And to help us manage our time, he says, use tools like project books and calendars to stay organized and on track.
Gotta love a good list and a calendar. Okay, now this next strategy is super interesting. Ron says you gotta surround yourself with the right people. It's not saying ditch all your friends, but
It's about, paying attention to how people influence you. Think about the people you hang out with. Are they positive, supportive, driven? Or do they bring, negativity and bad habits?
that's a really good question, isn't it? And it's not about judging people or cutting them off. It's just about being aware of how, who we spend time with affects us and making choices about who we're around.
Right. He says limit time with people who hold you back and spend more time with the ones who lift you up and inspire you.
So how do we do that?
Being active in your community, doing things you care about, those are great ways to meet like-minded people, people who can have a good influence on you.
It's like finding those mentors, people who have the qualities you want and can, show you the way.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be like this official thing. It could just be joining a book club or volunteering for something you care about or taking a class.
Right. Just get out there and meet people who want the same things you do.
So Ron's last strategy brings us back to, that idea we talked about, that real wealth isn't just money. He tells these stories about rich people who are totally miserable. It shows that money doesn't magically make you a good person or, actually happy.
It's a good reminder that, yeah, money's important, but it's not everything. There's got to be more to life.
Exactly. And to build that kind of inner wealth, he wants us to have what he calls a two-quarter mentality.
Okay, I'll be honest. When I first heard that, I was like, what's a two-quarter mentality?
It's a really cool way to think about it. Imagine you're at a shoe shine stand and you got to tip the guy, right? You got 2 quarters. Do you give him 1, 2?
Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
It's about being generous, even in those little everyday things.
Yeah. Giving that extra quarter, and it doesn't make you a millionaire or anything, but it shows you have this mindset of abundance you're willing to give.
Right.
And that, he says, is what makes a big difference in your happiness, even if you're not, loaded.
It's like that good feeling you get when you do something nice for someone else. It feels good.
That's exactly it. That 2-quarter mentality can spread out, make you happier, and the people around you too.
It's like investing in your own happiness in a way.
Exactly. And it all goes back to his whole message of going for both wealth and happiness. He's not saying money doesn't matter, but real fulfillment comes from, having your finances in order, good relationships, a purpose in life, and being a generous person.
So basically, Jim Rohn's 7 strategies, they give you this framework for a life that's both successful and fulfilling. It's setting goals, always learning, adding value, being good with money, managing time, being around the right people, and having that generous spirit.
And Ron has this one last thought that I think is so important. He says, don't just listen to this stuff. Do something about it. Start small, keep at it, and remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
I love that. So what really hit home for you from all of Ron's strategies? What do you think you could start doing, right now?
For me, it's that thing about self-reflection, really taking the time to think about what you've done, the good and the bad. It's powerful stuff.
Right, the daily check-in can show you so much about your habits, what you're good at, and where you can, get better. It's like looking in a mirror, seeing how you act and think.
And it goes back to what he said about learning from successful people, reading their stories, talking to mentors. It's all about finding that wisdom and making it work for you. He's reminding us that we're not in this alone. There's so much knowledge out there just waiting for us to grab it.
And I think that 2-quarter mentality, everyone should, try that. Choosing to be generous, it not only helps other people, but it makes you feel better too.
It's that abundance mindset, right? Knowing there's enough for everyone in that giving, it actually creates more. More money, more happiness, the whole thing.
Ron's work really makes you think, Real wealth, it's not just about the money. It's about living a life that fits with what you believe in, being around people who inspire you, and always trying to learn and grow.
He wants us to take charge of our lives, make good choices that get us closer to our goals, and never stop learning.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Jim Rohn's 7 strategies for wealth and happiness, remember, take action. Use what you've learned, keep at it, and keep diving deep into the stuff that gets you excited.
It's your journey to make, and the possibilities are endless.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep going for that life that's rich in every way.